Over Thanksgiving, I made my salted caramel pecan pumpkin cheesecake and received rave reviews. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Today, I use that same base cheesecake recipe and add a patriotic variation. Stick around, you don't want to miss this creamy and beautiful cheesecake. Guys, so we are making this delicious cheesecake today, and let me tell you, it's really beautiful too. Wait until you see how I add a little patriotic variation. We're just going to decorate it and give it that festive holiday beautiful red, white, and blue fruity look on top. Okay, so first to get started, we have to make the crust. Graham crackers, sugar, I like to add a little bit of cinnamon, and of course melted butter. So in this goes, and I'm going to teach you a few tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to ensure a foolproof, creamy, decadent, and delicious cheesecake crack-free. So that is the key. You don't want your cheesecake to crack. You want it to be nice and moist and beautiful. And there's a couple little tips and tricks that I'm going to show you to ensure that. All right, so we want to evenly blend our sugar, cinnamon, and graham cracker crumbs. Now, can you cheat and purchase the already made graham cracker? You can, it's just not the same. So don't. That's my subtle way of saying, don't do it. Look how easy this is. Okay, so I have my springform pan. I can't really talk. I couldn't get that out. My springform pan, from which I sprayed with some non-stick cooking spray. Now, we're just gonna add our graham crackers right in the bottom. Shimmy it a bit. Ramekin. So this is a little tip, one of my little tips I'm gonna share with you, how to form the crust. So you just wanna go around, lightly pat until you get it evenly incorporated, and then give it a nice firm zhuzh to form that crust. And you're just going to come up the sides just ever so slightly. You don't have to come all the way up. Okay, oven is heated at 325 degrees because we're going to toast our crust first for about 8 minutes. Crust is in the oven. Now it's time to make the filling. So I have everything at room temperature. A lot of cream cheese here. So we have 4 bars into the stand mixer, sour cream, sugar. That's how my Tia Anthula says sugar. Then a little bit of vanilla extract. And then we're going to blend this until it's silky smooth. So we don't want any bits or chunks. So that's the reason why you want it to be room temperature. And if you should forget to take it out, you can always soften it in the microwave. It's really important that it's room temperature. Our mixture is beautifully creamy. Now we're going to add the eggs one at a time. Our crust is ready. Now you want to vent the oven, leave it slightly ajar, decrease the temperature to 225 degrees. So we want to leave the oven a little ajar just so some of that heat can escape and it can adjust to 225 degrees because that's the temperature that we need to bake our cheesecake. Now, we're just gonna fill our cheesecake. So I already went ahead, let the crust sit. You want it to come to room temperature. You don't want it to be hot when we add our filling. And then just with the whisk attachment, just give it another little zhuzh. That way it's nice and creamy before you add it into the shell. So no bain-marie here. The trick to a crack-free cheesecake is low temperature. We have that 225-degree temperature. I have an internal thermometer which will tell me and indicate exactly where I am. So you want it at 225. We don't need the bain-marie. We are babying this, but we're cooking it a little bit longer. It keeps it beautifully moist. It will not crack. And then towards the end, when it's done baking, about 1 hour and 45 minutes later, before we release it from the oven, we will vent the oven for about 15 minutes and turn the oven off. And what that does is it prepares the cheesecake for room temperature without that extreme temperature change. So into the oven for 1 hour and 45 minutes for our crack-free delicious cheesecake. Through the magic of video, look at this beautiful cheesecake. So it came out of the oven and I let it sit for about 2 hours. You want it to come to room temperature. And then I placed it into the refrigerator. But before I did that, super important tip, it is still warm, even though it's sat at room temperature for 2 hours. You want to put a heavy-duty paper towel that fully covers the spring-form pan, or I like to use a clean kitchen towel and then put it into the refrigerator. Because what happens is condensation forms, and before it goes right on the cake, it will absorb in the towel. And then here we are the next day. So you definitely want to prepare this a day ahead. There is a lot of prep time and bake time, but it's totally worth it. So now we're going to decorate it. So you can see, I want you to come in really close. Look how creamy. You can just tell from the border how creamy this cheesecake is. I love this cheesecake. Okay. So now you can decorate it any way you want. I'm doing just sort of some strawberries and blueberries to give it that red and blue, that patriotic feel, and some whipped cream. So there's our red, white, and blue. And then you just want to go around the border and decorate it any old way you like. So you want to decorate the cake right before you serve it. Otherwise, the strawberries could tend to bleed, and you certainly do not want that. All right, beautiful, right? I left some of the green tips on there just for beauty. You can totally take them off. All right, and before you serve it, add your whipped cream. Look at that. How beautiful. Now this is more of an elegant, upscaled, patriotic version. You could totally decorate it and design it any way you like. This is so fun. Now we have to taste it. My son Kosa said to me, "Mom, this is the best cheesecake ever." It's like, it's ridiculously good. And I gotta tell you, even Sophie thinks it's good too. Sophie! It's so good. Here we are. Look at that. It's beautiful, right? Wait until you taste it. Did I tell you that this cheesecake is so delicious? Have I told you that? It's so velvety. It's so decadent. Perfectly sweet. Oh my gosh. New York style cheesecake. That's what this is. So good. For this recipe, head over to the newspaper's website. I'm Shereen with Cook This. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Happy 4th of July.